Intelligent Changli will reduce your enemies to cinders, and today I'm gonna tell you how to build her best. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So what echoes does this highly intelligent strategist desire? None other than 5-piece Molten Rift. This set fits her kit perfectly, being especially nice when you consider how much she enjoys skill damage. Easily her best in slot pick, farm it up for her as soon as you can. 2-piece mix and match sets include 2-piece fusion percent, skill percent, and attack percent. Her main animal will be the Nightmare Inferno Rider, as it gives her extra fusion percent and skill percent if you have it in her main 4-cost slot. Regular Inferno Rider will work too, but the basic percent it offers is less effective than the Nightmare variant skill percent. As for Changli's main stats, simple. Go for 4-cost crit percent, 3-cost fusion percent, 3-cost fusion percent, 1-cost attack percent, and 1-cost attack percent. Her main stat spread is fairly standard, nothing too different from the usual norm. As always, you can indeed get away with using alternatives such as attack percent, while not losing out on too much damage. However, using a 4-4-1-1-1 setup will end up being significantly worse than her 4-3-3-1-1 setups. As for Changli's stat goals, simple. Go for 2,100 attack on a 5-star weapon, 2,000 attack on a 4-star weapon, 75 to 270 crit on a 5-star weapon, 70 to 220 crit on a 4-star weapon, and 120% ER. These stat goals are very achievable and will get your Changli planning with convention very well. These stat goals are realistic relative to the weapon that you're running on her. A little pinch of ER will also help you use her ult more frequently, which is super neat. Since this lovely Phoenix lady released not long after the game's launch, being a 1.1 unit, her echo choices are as straightforward as it gets. There's really no reason to choose anything other than 5-piece Molten Rift, seeing as it hosts perfect synergy with her kit. In a game of Wei Chi, you need pieces, and in a game of combat, you need weapons. So what'll Changli's finest choices be? None other than Blazing Brilliance. This is her tailor-made signature weapon, so naturally, it ends up being her de facto best in slot pick. A crap ton of skill percent, crit damage, and attack percent, all packed into one sword. It doesn't get any better than this for her. I would also like to add that she has the most versatile 5-star sword in the game, making it a really high value pull in general. Neat. Red Spring is decent on her as a secondary option. It'll be a good chunk worse than Brilliance, but still quite good thanks to all the high quality stats that it offers her. Emerald of Genesis is a fantastic pick too, as it offers qualities which are good for Changli in general. Free crit percent, attack percent, and a bonus bit of ER to boot. Lovely choice if you have it. I'd like to mention that because of this particular weapon, the Phoenix Lady is one of the least signature reliant characters in the game. She genuinely gets by just fine when wielding an Emerald of Genesis, which can be permanently obtained via the standard banner. Som Noir Anchor is a good stat stick for Changli too, being her best 4-star option if you have access to it. Plenty of free stats are at hand here. You really can't go wrong with it. All of her attack stick 4-star options will work well on her. If they offer her some generally good stats that she can easily take advantage of, then you'll have no problem at all making this choice work well. Changli is able to take advantage of most swords in this game. If you have swords that offer positive stats here to some degree, then congratulations, you've got yourself a perfectly good Changli weapon. Yet who shall be your companions that will indulge her in a good game of Wei Chi? Well, for starters, we have to discuss none other than Mr. Brant Wuthering Waves. His release has created a new best in slot team for Changli, because he's able to play with her so well. You see, his outro buffs fusion percent and skill percent, making him the ideal partner for boosting your damage. He also deals a crap ton of personal damage himself if you're able to manage building him, making this an excellent dual carry team, an archetype in which this intelligent Phoenix Lady thrives. Brant is able to reduce how difficult Changli is to play well, because you can justify staying on her for longer with Brant's outro buff up to play her more like a main DPS. Or if you're really good at quick swapping, then you can still quick swap between them to maximize the team's damage potential. However, keep in mind that Brant's outro buff expires on swap out, so dish out as much damage as possible if you're Changli when you have that up. This duo is stupidly strong, and it's the buff to our gorgeous Phoenix that we've all been waiting for. I should also mention how this team makes Whimpering Wastes look like a joke. That game mode is all about dealing a sustained amount of damage to the enemies over time, as opposed to dealing a whole lot of damage all at once. These two are easily able to fill in for each other's downtimes, making this one of the best wuwa teams in the game. If you needed a good wuwa character, then this lady is the way to go. I should also mention that she's amazing in this game mode without Brant too, because of her dual carry nature. She's really easily able to fill in for character downtimes, and deal a large amount of AoE damage up front to deal with all the trash mobs. She has plenty of other comps at her disposal too, such as general quickswap teams. Essentially, if a DPS can offer swap windows, then Changli will work just fine. Phoebe Changli is really good. You swap into the Phoenix every time you use Phoebe's charge attack, and use her skill or fully charged heavy attack while it's playing out. You also use her ultimate during these windows. Changli Yao is another great contender. You swap to do Changli shenanigans whenever he's doing his long enhanced plunges, skills, or Forte skill. Basically anything that isn't his basic attacks. He can also take great advantage of her outro skill's liberation percent buffing. With Chichia, you mostly play Chichia on fields of which she can take advantage of the Phoenix Lady's amazing outro skill buffs. She's a pretty good teammate for the Jinjo Ranger. Carlotta can really enjoy using her too. You swap in whenever you use her skill, or whenever she uses her Forte heavy attack. Those are the main windows in which you'd swap to Changli. Jinchi Changli can work, but only if you know what you're doing. You generally swap the Phoenix Lady in during the Magistrate skills, and if you're fast enough, you can slot them in during her basic attacks too. She's a good Encore second slot teammate as well, mostly serving as a means to free up your Sanhua if she's already in use elsewhere. Brant is a far better Hyper Changli buffer than Jojo, but the Silly Painter can still work as an alternative if you don't intend on pulling for the Clown Pirate. Her skill percent buffing on outro is pretty neat for her. You can quick swap during Colcharo's Death Messengers, but playing Colcharo is certainly a choice. Yinlin quick swap is also an option. Anytime she casts a long animation, you swap into Changli. Havoc Rover Changli is another competent option too, which is fairly free to play friendly if you're interested. You swap into Changli when Havoc Rover casts his longer animations, such as his skill and basic attack 5. Alright, but how exactly do you play her? Well, you see, Changli doesn't have a fixed rotation, because it entirely depends on the team that she's playing in. In the team section, I mentioned the main swap window for every single character that she quick swaps with. Your goal is that, whenever your main DPS is doing that long animation, you immediately swap to Changli and use her skill to gain a true sight stack. You can collect up to 4 of those as indicated by the bar on the bottom. When all 4 segments are full, you use her heavy attack during the swap window. You can also immediately use her ult and gain 4 stacks, either using it right away or saving it for her next swap window. You can also open up team rotations of 2 Changli skills so that you can get cooldown starting, allowing you to quickly gain 4 true sight stacks. Avoid using her basic attacks during her swap windows. They take far too long to be worthwhile. Always stick to using her skill and liberation for true sight stacks. Also, whenever you have intro skills available, try to intro into Changli often, because it gives her a true sight stack. Then while she's still in the air, use her skill to cancel the long falling animation, thus allowing you to immediately strike again and generate another true sight stack. Make sure that you let her intro play out a little before immediately using her skill, because otherwise, you won't get the true sight stack from her intro, thus wasting a stack. This is what makes Changli such a difficult character to take advantage of. You have to be able to manage your true sight stacks efficiently, and know the right times to swap into your characters to abuse long animation times. The general rule of thumb is that whenever your character is casting a long animation, you swap into Changli to use her skills or heavy attack. It's a challenge to nail down, but once you've got it down for good. Yet how does this lovely Phoenix Lady work? Well, her basic attacks will deal up to 4 basic fusion strikes. With the final basic, she'll enter the true sight state, and while in this state, doing another basic or jumping will allow her to gain a true sight stack. As for her skill, she'll launch a big myriad of AoE fusion slashes, then afterwards, if you press normal attack after she casts skill, she'll dash forward and gain another true sight stack after entering the true sight state. This ability has 2 charges. As for her liberation, she'll launch a large fusion nuke, immediately filling up her Forte bar to full, which allows her to do her heavy attack immediately. As for her Forte circuit, this is what stores her Forte segments. When you have all 4 of her Forte stacks, you can hold down and launch a large AoE fusion blast. Her intro skill will launch her into the air, and if you make contact with the enemy, she'll gain a true sight stack. Her outro skill is what stores her fusion percent and liberation percent buffing, really nice for her long-term value as a character. As for her inherent skills, simple. Changli's I1 will give her an extra 5% of fusion damage bonus for every single stack of inflammement that she has, a nice bonus amount of fusion percent for her. As for her I4, she'll gain 20% fusion damage bonus when she either uses her heavy attack or liberation, and she'll also ignore 50% of their defense when dealing damage this way. Great I4, this is really nice for her damage output. As for her Forte priority, simple, go for this. Her heavy attack is really strong, so certainly don't neglect it. Her skill is the main meat of her kit, especially considering how often you use it during her swap windows, so give it a lot of attention. Her liberation is amazing too, as it'll allow you to deal some nasty fusion nukes to your foes. All of these abilities are worthwhile, so make sure to level them all. I'd ignore her basics unless you want to hypercarry her, and you can ignore her intro skill as well. Do you wish to donate to this fine Phoenix? Then let's talk sequences. A nice damage increase for her, not to mention that there's some solid quality of life at hand thanks to the extra interruption resistance. Good stuff. Some free stats, not bad at all. It'll increase her damage well and allows her to be easier to build. Good stuff. This'll make her liberation more of a nuke, which is really solid. Definitely don't neglect your ult at this stage. This is actually a great team-wide buff, considering that Changli primarily works in dual carrying teams. Nice. This really improves her heavy attack's damage output, which is insane considering how important this aspect of her kit is. Great S4 that helps her out by a whole lot. Def Ignore is very good. Like, it's really good. So this is strong, But by S6 standards, Jinshi's and Camellia's are far better, but it's still a solid S6. Not one of the stronger ones though. It'll be broken by virtue of it being an S6, but it won't be the most insane S6 on the planet. In terms of high astrites-based investment, I'd honestly pick up Blazing Brilliance or just leave it at an S0 Changli with Emerald of Genesis or some other substitute. Her sequences are fine, but it's more worthwhile to get high investment for whoever your main DPS of a team that she's quick swapping with is. So S0 R1 and stop there. If you insist on going anymore, then S1 R1. Otherwise, go all in for S4 to 6. Changli is one of my favorite Wuthering Waves characters. Her kit is extremely fun to play, her design is peak incarnate, and I only have good things to say about her. She's definitely a learning curve, but she is worth her weight in gold. That is, if you're willing to dedicate your time into learning her. I'm certainly proud to be a Changli main, and unless someone else has a playstyle that's anywhere near as fun as hers in the near future, I don't believe that I'll be dropping main status anytime soon. But what do you think of Changli? Is she also a peak waifu to you? Let me know down below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I have a ZZZ second channel. Head on over and subscribe if you're interested in some fun, silly ZZZ content. I'd also like to mention that I stream on Twitch. I stream once a week every week on Saturday, starting from 3 PM UK time. Come along so we can play Wuthering Waves, ZZZ, and do some other fun stuff together. Hopefully this video was able to get your Changli's enemies to beckon the divine flame. This has been Juice, signing out, and you'll know that you're a real Changli main once the voices will no longer leave your head. Plan with convention, and conquer by ingenuity.